How are you? This is Todd Medina with SoulogyOneStudios. I want to do a short, about a 10-minute segment. This was inspired today by somebody who commented on a post I made. So let me first say this, and I hope I get the name right. Let me give a shout out to Deborah Despain Green. Thank you very much for the question. It was a very good question. And let me then go to this and say that I don't have all the answers. But I felt like I wanted to answer the question because I thought it was a great question, and maybe others will chime in too. Now, my post was that you cannot find the light without first finding the authenticity in yourself that is soul. And she said, how do you know you have found it? Well, my take on it is that it's not a matter of having found it, the knowing that you have found it. It is a matter of the knowing that you are finding it. And how do you do that? Or how do you know that you're finding it? So I'm going to take her question a little bit further and say, how do you know you're finding it? And I'll tell you how you know you're finding it. You know you're finding it when the love that you have, which is the same thing as the light, when the love that you have for yourself is equal to, not greater than, okay, not less than, but equal to everything outside of you, okay, beginning with those things closest to us, those things in our face, family, personal relationships, okay? Because you cannot love at a greater level outside of yourself, at a greater level than you love yourself. And how do you love yourself? You love yourself by embracing, believing, and understanding that you are an eternal being, that you are this, not this, a bag of bones, but an invisible energy that I call soul, the heart and the mind of spirit. So the first part is, and that's what I am soul is. I am soul is the proclamation that I am divinity. Yes, I am. I do not just die and go away. I am not just a body that was given a soul that I can lose, so to speak. So I am soul. What does that do? Well, when you start to understand and really absorb the fact, and you're again finding the light in you, you first notice it by the fact that you start to see the things outside of you in a different light. No pun intended. You start to see the light in it. Let's just take a quick example of a personal relationship. You might have a sibling or a parent or a friend that, or a spouse or a partner that, you have these thoughts no matter how Jesus-like, Buddha-like you try to be. You just have these thoughts that they're just not a good person, And I know that's hard to do sometimes. We've all been guilty of it, and we have some very extreme situations. You might have people doing some really bad things. But what happens is when you start to understand, or you're finding that light in you, I am soul, you start to see outside of you, I am light. You start to see things a little bit differently. The old saying, put yourself in a man's shoes, and in this day and age, I will say, put yourself in a woman's shoes as well. Put yourself in a child's shoes. You start to look at things a little bit differently. Like, for instance, say you're having a problem with somebody, like I was describing earlier, and it's just gone on historically, and you're diametrically opposed, and bottom line is that you're looking at this person and you're saying, I'm better than them. You are. Now, I know it sounds tough to accept with some people, but it's just not true. Because if you really are finding that light in you, the I am soul aspect, you will start to see, and this is to answer your question, Deborah, at least in my take on it, is that you start to see the light. And let's just talk people right now. People, human beings carrying souls. Let's not talk about all the other stuff out there, because that gets into the the upper levels, the PhD part of spirituality, when you start seeing the wind and the trees and everything else. But people. So you've got this person, and you have a hard time with them, and maybe they have a hard time with you, and they think you think that because of your thinking, you really, if you get right down to it, you believe you're superior. You're more pious. You're better than they are. Okay? Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't work. Not if you are finding the soul in you. How do you find it, Deborah? You find it because you start to see that person, for instance, that you have had trouble with, you start to see them in a different light, no pun intended. You start to see what is I am light. You start to see that, hey, wait a minute, because the soul starts talking to you. That soul is you, your higher self. It starts to say, hey, wait a minute, do you know where they came from? Do you know what they went through? And you start to know that, or maybe you start to find out. You start to find out it may be something really bad. It may be something like they got the hell beat out of them when they were a kid, or they watched their sister get molested, or something horrible. Who knows? But the whole point is, or maybe they have some kind of chemical imbalance. Who knows? But you start to see things a little bit different. So you go from I am soul here to I am light out there. That's one way you see it. You start to see things differently. If you're not seeing people differently, if you're still classifying people as, lesser than you. Oh, well, I'm a Muslim and they're a Christian. Or I'm a Sunni Muslim and they're a Shiite. We're better. Hey, you know what? Sorry. I'm sorry about that, but that just doesn't work. That is not in the universal harmony, and that's the only law that matters. Not your religious law or your sect of your religion that puts them above another one. No. It's not a Protestant better than a Catholic. These are all man-made labels and BS. Okay? Now, you've got the I am soul aspect. You want to know how you start to see that you're finding, because again, I don't believe you find it. And her question was, how do you know you found it? No, it is a never-ending escalation, a never-ending elevation. Okay? The soul never flatlines like this. It's always going up. Now, we might flatline for a while, okay? But eventually, we get pushed. Boom, boom. It's going to happen. So I am soul. I am light. And what happens when you start to see things outside of yourself? You start to see that magic, because that's what it is. You start to see that light and you say, whoa, wait a minute. I used to not like people of that color or that culture or that religion, and now I'm starting to understand where they came from. Okay? Wow. I feel pretty good about that. What comes after that? Faith. Not faith the noun. Faith the transitive verb. Faith in action. When you have faith in action, you start to live the first two elements, I am soul and I am light. You start to do that, and when you start to do that, what you're basically doing is you're communing, whether you're conscious or whether you're conscious of it or not. You start communing with the universe. You start cooperating with the universe, and the universe starts to conspire with you, as Paulo Coelho says in his great book, The Alchemist. You start to see that. You start to see results. You start to see reciprocation from the universe, and things start happening. Okay? So you got the I am soul, I am light, I am faith, the transitive verb, action. Okay? And then what happens? Peace. And I'm not talking about peace, man. All right? I'm talking about the power of peace. Because there is no greater power than the power peace begets. That's a boom and a half right there. When you can have the peace to walk tall, in that action of faith that is founded on I am light and I am soul. Okay? And what happens after you hit the I am soul, I am light, I am faith, I am peace? I am wisdom. How does that happen? A lot of people talk about knowledge. All right? And I've been guilty of it. We've all been guilty of it. I read that, I know that, blah, blah, blah. But what is wisdom? Wisdom is knowledge plus action. Remember? Faith and action. So you end up having the I am soul, I am light, I am faith, I am peace. That's the power that generates the action. And then you have I am wisdom. And you start to really feel and see that you are growing. So Deborah, there you go. It's the proof. The proof is in each one of those steps. And it goes higher than that. And I'll just, kind of summarize the rest of it. From that wisdom, you develop something. Because that power of peace, that is the igniter of action, of that faith, turn it into a transitive verb, turn it into the action of faith, creates that wisdom. Guess what happens? You start to get brave. You start to get brave, man. You start to say, hey, wait a minute. I like this magic. I want a piece of this. I want to see this happen. I want to manifest positive things. I want to manifest the light, not just in me, but in those around me. I mean, it's the soul speaking, and it doesn't speak in a human language all the time. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. It's just that intuitive. It's that intuitive, just boom, boom, boom. Things start happening. Coincidences. We can no longer just wash them away, as an aberration or luck. It's the magic of the universe. And so you have this courage. And from that courage, you start to become selfless. That's another sign. See, another sign is you start to become selfless. You might think you were selfless, but when it gets right down to it, as you start to elevate and your vibration raises, you start to really find out what selflessness is. And then it really goes boom, because you become fearless. And there is nothing like the feeling of a fearless and free soul, and you just start rocking from there. And what that does for you is you begin to become more compassionate. And they all kind of ride together. I put them in order like this is kind of the way it came to me. But, I am soul from here. I am light out here. I am faith. I am peace. I am wisdom. I am courage. I am selfless. I am fearless. I am compassion. And then as you start to delve into a greater compassion, you start to realize that I am soul means I am open-minded. You start to look at what you once thought, again, was lesser than you, because you have found that light inside yourself and outside yourself. You start to look at people, classes of people. You start to look at them, once having looked at them in an inferior manner, even though you may have found it hard to admit, well, I like those people, they just stay to themselves, that kind of thing. But you start to look at things, and you start to become more open-minded, okay? And beneath all of this, there is an infinite intelligence that drives it, not the intellect of the ego that's been holding us back. You start to look at things that just don't make sense, things handed down from history that just don't make sense. They were given to us, we accepted them, and we never questioned them, and now you start questioning them. And see, that's another sign that you're finding the light within yourself. So you start to become more open-minded. And the next thing you know, you start to understand that you haven't always been as pure and clean as you thought. And you learn what forgiveness is. See, forgiveness is the same way. Once that light starts going off, and the element of the soul starts ticking, you start to understand that in the past you weren't exactly as virtuous as you thought. And you start to, have some what they call soul searching. And you start to look at some things, both on a personal level and maybe on a wider level, a global level, social level, and you start to say, I wasn't what I thought I was, and you go into some tough conversations with the soul, which is you, and you learn what forgiveness is, and you begin to release guilt and shame and blame. And then, again, as you cannot love at a higher level outside yourself than you do love yourself, you cannot forgive outside of yourself, at a greater level of forgiveness then you've forgiven yourself. So you begin to forgive yourself. And again, it works the same way. I am soul. I am light. I am forgiveness. I am forgiving people now. You know, I've lived this stuff, and I've seen a lot of people do it. So just to wrap it all up, and again, thank you, Deborah, for the question. I invite people to make any comments they want. I don't have all the answers, but let's start like this. I am soul, and I am finding my soul. How do I know? I know because I start to see the light outside of me, and we're using people, other souls in this example, maybe people that we had a problem with. We start to see them in a different light, in a higher light. We start to see them as equals, you know, regardless of what's going on, you know, regardless of the bad blood. So I am soul, I am light. It brings a faith in action. I am faith. It brings peace, the power of peace, which activates that faith and turns knowledge into wisdom. And when that happens, you get brave. I am courage. You become selfless, fearless in your compassion, you know, and that opens up, that compassion opens up an open-mindedness, which if you think about it, what is the universe? Is it open or is it closed? Okay? Is it open or is it closed? Is it a doctrine or a dogma that says, here's the way it is, here's the line in the sand? No, it just keeps going, baby. So, you know, you get to that point of compassion, you become open-minded, and it strikes a level of forgiveness within yourself that you know, ultimately goes outside of yourself, like all of these do, and you start to forgive others at a level that you've forgiven yourself, and the level you've forgiven yourself continues to grow because your wisdom grows, your light grows, and you just continue to elevate outside. Your vibration outside of you also grows. And like I like to say, when you hit these 11 things, I am soul all the way up to I am forgiveness, then to this universe, to this world, to your family, to your personal relationship, marriage, partner, whatever, children, friends, to all of that, a soul is born. I am brotherhood. I am sisterhood. I am transgenderhood. I am soul. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you all for joining us. I appreciate it. I'm wishing each and every one of you, all the people you love in the whole world, peace, power, protection, and big love from SoulogyOneStudios. This is Todd Medina. Thank you very much.